Hello everybody, my name is Garrett and I'm here to talk about setting up automated threat intelligence importing into your QRadar environment. I have released about 3 different threat feeds now with scripts to automatically import them, and we're going to show how to build the rule logic to report on activity to those threat IPs too. I try and pick threat IPs that I know would be unusual in an environment, so you're not going to get a lot of false positives with these lists. For now, I've kept them separate, but you could make one main script to call the sub ones if you started to utilize all these. To get right into it, we're going to implement this new one, this FH for Firehole, and it's the green snow list provided by Firehole. So the first step that we need to do is we go to this my GitHub here, and we'll get the raw file, and then we'll wget this down onto the QRadar box. So in this window here, this is my QRadar setup, and you can see I have a /op or a /op/scripts. I have 2 scripts in there now. We're going to make another one. I like to just call these the same as the repository on GitHub. So just fh reputation. We'll cd there. Nothing's in there. And then we'll wget it. So it downloads very quick. And the next thing we're going to need to do is allow it to execute. I'm only allow it to execute and read. There's no reason to write from it. And we only need it for root. So we got it here. Now the next step, the nice thing about this is we don't need to build the reference set. The script will do that for us. So we'll execute this by typing /greensnow. It's going to download right here. You see it's building it. This little portion of the script right here will look for if the reference set exists or not. If it doesn't, that's why it's going to build it. So we don't keep rebuilding it on top of itself. And it's only downloaded the file one time, so that's why the hash doesn't match. This check is to ensure that we just don't keep wasting resources to import over the top of the same data. There's no data in the set. This would purge it to ensure that data is updated. I've thought about a TTL to just have it drop by itself, but purging it seemed more reliable in the fact that if it doesn't, like if it gets updated by the TTL, the time it could throw it off. That was why I wanted to avoid that. So I just drop everything and add everything new. So we'll go into our QRadar setup here, and if we go to reference sets, we can see we have, where did it go here? Green snow, and it has 1,227 IPs. Move that up, and they're all added today. Now the next step that we'll need to do is we need to build a rule around this. So we want to know when anytime somebody hits one of these IPs. So one quick thing to do before we build the rule and start setting off a ton of alerts if this was a false positive, or if it created a lot of false positives with this list, we'd want to do a check. So we can do reference set, select the green snow one that we just made. Whoa. We'll do source IP exists in any of, and then green snow. We can do destination IP as well just to check, but for now we'll just do source. It'll make it easy. I'm probably going to get hits on this just due to the fact that I have a honeypot, but we'll give it a run over 7 days. So these are going to be going here, and then this is going to hit my honeypot. So this is expected traffic. So in my rule, I would want to tune this out, but just for simplicity, we'll build one. So I already have one. I'll kind of demo real quick for Tor nodes. Same basic concept though. So we'll open this up here. This one will look for any outbound traffic. It'll look if it's in the list, the source or dest, and not when it's the DMZ, that honeypot IPs. So we're going to copy the same basic principle. I like to do a common rule for something like this because, again, I have flows set up in the environment, so I can detect on either flows or events, which is very handy for a rule like this. So the first thing that we want to do is, I don't care about the direction too much in this rule, whether it's inbound or outbound, so I'm not going to add that filter in here. So we're going to do the reference set. And when any, so either source or dest, and we're going to name this version 1. Something like that. And then we don't care about certain ranges. So I don't care about the teapot, Docker. I don't care about the external. So we'll do and not on that. And to save us resources, I'm going to move this up to the top, because when you build rules, you want to try and do like a funnel effect. Essentially, try and capture bigger to narrow it down at the start, and then funnel it down to very specific stuff. So this is really all we need, because this is a very basic rule. So we'll do this. I'm going to annotate the offense with hit. Since we're doing both source and dest IP, there's not an easy way to index it. So I guess for now I'm going to test it with source IP, but I might need to switch, depending on how noisy it is, to destination IP. By excluding my external IP for the scanning attempts that get blocked by default and my honeypot, the majority of the traffic should be source IP outbound to these bad IPs. We're going to dispatch a new event, and we're going to call this green snow IP hit. And essentially, we're going to need to give it a description for the event. So we'll just basically say in IP address. Something like that. You can be more descriptive or less. This will just trigger an event for us to review as like a timeline to see when this happened. This the categories. I try and get something kind of close to what we have. It wasn't really an exploit. Those IPs have been known to do exploits, but not directly on the network, at least our network. So I just set this to IP access policy violation, because they really shouldn't be going to any of these IPs in here. We're going to copy the same rule name down here. Something like this, you could set it up to email yourself if you want. Otherwise, that's all we really need here. I'm going to do a response limiter once per 30 minutes for source IP, just to ensure that I'm not flooding myself at the start when this rule gets deployed. And we're going to enable it right away. And we got our rule, it's all enabled, it's ready to roll. Now the last step in this deployment is we need to ensure that our list gets updated. So if we go back to the reference set, I'll close it out. And if we look at like a good example is my Tor init list, because the Tor nodes change all the time, they need to be updated. And this list is set to update every 7 days. So I want to do the same for my green snow one. So if I go to green snow, this is because we just updated it right now as we built it. So we need to go to the command line And then we need to go to the cron tab because we want to have this set up to automatically launch every like a certain amount of time, and that's how you do it in Linux. So down near the bottom, you can see we already have one for this ref set threat intel scripts. So essentially, I'm just going to copy this and just set it to the same schedule. These scripts don't have a lot of overhead. And what I'll do is I'll just have this execute at the same time, because this will literally take 2 minutes to run this. If I had like 20 of these going, I would stagger them a bit. And really the only thing I have to change in this setup is FH for fire hole, and change this to green snow. Now to make sure I have this set up correctly, we'll copy this just one time. I don't care about the dev null due to the fact that it's just gonna output, like not let me see the output, and I don't care about that to test that because I know that works. So we'll save that, and then just to confirm one more time, I'll execute this, and we see it works. And it looks like the actual list changed from the initial time that we did it to now, which is kind of cool. So it's updating it once again. And you can see that here. Computing, MD5, hashes don't match, so it's doing new threat intel. But you can see prior, we had the step for creating the reference set. You don't even see that anymore because it's already been completed, which is kind of nice. And then we're done. And you can see after it does the initial setup, it's very quick on running. Thanks for watching the video, guys. As always, if you have any questions or you just want to provide input, leave a comment or send me a message and I'll be glad to help. Thanks.